Hi, everyone. This is Miss Fusaro, and I wanted to come to you and speak to you today about the classroom expectations. And I thought it'd be a little bit easier to actually just make a video of the classroom expectations because I wanted to spend more time live talking to you and answering your questions about this presentation. So I hope that's okay that I make this video instead. And even throughout the video, I'm going to direct you to other places where I've already made videos to elaborate on different topics. This way, you're not searching through one video for everything. So there is a lot of fishing that you have to do to try to find all these different videos, but I will direct you there. Let me first tell you that I have shared these slides with you with all the hyperlinks. It is like essentially a hyperdoc in the syllabus, and I'm going to talk about that too. But the syllabus is the main vein of how I will communicate with you. Everything that is vital to the course and the content and important links and what have you, I make live in the syllabus. This way everything is organized. And that's not just for you to stay organized, it also helps me stay organized. So there's a purpose behind it. And we'll get to that. So first of all, welcome to God's Monsters in the Apocalypse. This is my baby. This is my child. This course, I wrote this course. I started it. This is the sixth year that I'm teaching this class, and I'm just incredibly honored and grateful that you are here with me and joining me in this course because I'm hoping that means that you are as excited about these topics as I am, and these are like all of my favorite things about reading and literature, and I'm so thankful that I get to spend it with you, my favorite stuff in the world, and share it with people who are intelligent and eager. And I just have such a good time in this class. This is my purpose in life. You guys are my joy, so thank you. Okay, enough thanking and on to the other stuff. All right. So first of all, um, my full name is really like Mrs. Fusaro Pizzo. So I think that's important because when it comes to my DOE email, that's it's K Fusaro Pizzo, and sometimes people miss that because everyone just refers to me as Miss Fusaro or even Fus, and people forget that I have the hyphenation in my name. You do not need to refer to me as Mrs. Fusaro Pizzo. It's very wordy. But just so you know, when you send me an email, it's kfusaro pizzo at schools.nyc.gov. As you can see, please do not use Pupil Path to message me. Send me an email because Pupil Path, I cannot respond back to you unless I actually open up Pupil Path on a computer and go into my inbox. I don't always get notified if you send me an email. If you send me a message in Pupil Path. So please just don't use Pupil Path to message me. I won't be able to respond to you in a timely fashion. So please send me an email, kfusaro at schools.nyc.gov. That also goes directly to my cell phone, and I can respond much quicker that way. I do have a school Twitter. The This Twitter is where I kind of um, I advocate all things education and I highlight you. And the reason behind it is because a lot of these different programs and sources that I use end up like retweeting things that especially that students are doing. So I'll give you an example. We were working on a project with Norse mythology, and like Neil Gaiman himself, the author, was retweeting the photos and images of our students doing the project with Norse mythology, and that's really cool because then you could turn around and use that as part of um, your own educational stamp, digital stamp of like all the things that you've accomplished, and you can show like colleges especially or jobs or internships, hey listen, I'm more than just my resume, like I have this dynamic experience, take a look at this tweet that I was in. So there's a lot of reason that I do that. My Twitter is at kfusaro and I usually use the hashtag mythology with Fusaro because I try to be cool. Uh, today when we actually get to meet live, or when I do get to speak to you and meet with you live, I'm going to ask you some boring facts about you. So think about that. And that's something we're all going to share together. Like, for example, a boring fact about me is like that I hate meatballs. Yours does not have to be about food, but I want you to just think about like something really boring about you. Okay. This is a link to register for our classes. I sent this out to you guys already as an email and an assignment in PeoplePath. It's to register for Google Classroom. And if you're here, I'm assuming you already registered for Google Classroom and you got that together, but I also need you to make sure you register for Turnitin. And that is also, this document is when you click here where my Zoom information lives. So this way you can get onto Zoom. Please note that you will need to activate your Department of Education email, your Department of Education account in order to use Zoom. Right now I have it open, so in case you're having a little bit of trouble, but come the first cycle week, the first like mixed cycle week, I'm going to have to turn that off. This way it keeps everybody safe. So make sure you do register and get that together ASAP. Okay, so a little bit about the St. John's College Advantage program. This is a really amazing program that it took me quite a while to actually get to work. So it it was over a year in the making. Like I had to get interviewed by St. John's and submit my syllabus and all of these things. But the benefit is that if you pass this course, and I'm sure everybody's going to pass this course as long as like you do what you need to do, and you pay for these credits, which is like $325, you can get 3 college credits for passing the course. It's considered English 2100 at St. John's. Now, the thing is, you do not have to attend St. John's for the credits to count. That's really important. You can transfer them to your preferred college. You have a real transcript. It's considered a concurrent or dual enrollment if you pay for the credits. You are duly enrolled in high school senior English and a college class. So you're killing two birds with one stone. So if you pay for those credits, you do have to register by October 9th in order to get the credits for the fall. So please make sure that you do that if you're interested in this program. Again, you don't need to attend St. John's. You will get the St. John's transcript with the 3 college credits for it. Now, if you do decide to attend St. John's, there's actually like quite a bit of scholarships available to you for using the College Advantage program. They there's like automatically a grant that you receive for being part of the College Advantage program, but then you are also eligible for other scholarships on top of that because you are a participant in the College Advantage program. So there's benefits if you're thinking about going to St. John's also. If you have more questions about that, just let me know. But the registration link, all of that is you could click in the slideshow, but I also have that always in the syllabus. Okay, so the portfolio. I already did a video on the portfolio, and so what I actually am going to ask you guys to do is, after you finish going through here, to go back and click on that link, the video explanation of the senior portfolio. This is also in the syllabus, and that explains everything about the portfolio, and that you do come to me when we meet live Zoom, however, we're meeting, that you come to me with questions about, the portfolio and any requirements. And this way I can clarify things. So the Conch and the Ghost, let me give you a bit of an explanation about that. Now, what I would do in like my traditional classes is, if those of you who've read Lord of the Flies or had me for Lord of the Flies, or if you read it with another English teacher, there's a conch, and a conch is a shell, and it's supposed to metaphorically be like the passing of the one who speaks. So in our class, what we're going to do is going to keep this metaphor alive, and if you will use the symbolism of this conch that you can pass to someone who wants to speak, you pass them the conch. Now, to make things more interesting, we also have what I call the ghost. The ghost is you can pass to someone whose hand is not raised. So you could turn around and ghost somebody and get them, because now they have to respond. Or you could steal their team points. And I'll talk about team points soon. So that's a good way to keep everybody kind of on their toes and engaged. And it gamifies everything, which just makes it more fun. So a little bit of like some warnings and disclaimers. So there's this course has a lot of serious topics that's like gore, cruelty, violence, religion, death, suicide, all kinds of things. And you need to let me know immediately if there are things that you're sensitive about, things that you feel like maybe triggering you. You need to let me know, because this way I can protect you and take care of you. And on that note, I can't fix anything I don't know. You have to always, communicate with me. Please don't ever be afraid. I want that to be super clear. Not just me, but all of your teachers, especially I can advocate for all my colleagues in this building. We are all here for you. We are here because we care about you. We are here because we want to see you succeed. We are here because we want to be facilitators of your success. We want to be the ones that lift you up. We want only things that are best for you. So if there's something that's hurting you, bothering you, or whatever, or just you need help, please reach out to us. None of us can help what we don't know. And you know, you just you got to reach out to us, and we will be there for you. N- no holds barred. I'm actually gonna pause at this point to show you the syllabus to give you a better idea of that. I'm going to click in there, but as you can see, it's a clickable link. But I'm going to show you the syllabus. So this year's syllabus is a little bit different than I've done in the past because in the past I had a day by day, lesson structure. Obviously, this year is different, where we're approaching a different type of learning style. So I'm trying to adjust it to make it work that way. But let me explain how it works. So as you can see in the highlighted part, I mean, well, first of all, this top part is all of like my contact information, my email, my Twitter, my portfolio, blah, 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 a video about the class, which you saw already if last year, you don't have to watch this, a little bit about the course, but here highlighted, please read Google Classroom to know which lesson numbers we are covering for that cycle. So that's how I'm going to use the cycles this year and how I'm going to use Google Classroom. It'll always redirect you here, but this way you know exactly which numbers apply. How this also works. So these are the essential questions of the year. Like these are the big picture questions, the philosophy questions, the ones that are supposed to make us think. As much as we love literature and for the idea of literacy being capable of like reading and writing and comprehending, it's also very much about psychology and the human condition, and who we are, who we become, who we'll be culturally, all things in between. That's one of the main reasons that we read in this course. It's about people. It's about people, and the more you understand about people, honestly, the more successful you will be in the rest of your life, because it's under gaining that compassion and understanding, which is a skill that's incredibly difficult to teach, but it's all in books. Anyway, I digress. We'll get into that as we get through different lessons, more nitty gritty. The way the course is set up is six standards. I set up six power standards, they're called, and we are hitting all six power standards this year. And the goal is that you will become masters in each of these power standards by the end of the year. So click here, the learning targets. That'll take you to another document where that is elaborated. And that's this goes back to the portfolio. If you didn't watch the portfolio video yet, it all aligns together. But these power standards are the main targets, the main things that I want you to learn by the end of the year. So like standard one, for example, reading nonfiction and informational texts, and then the goal is that you will be able to do all of these things regarding standard one. All of these, you will hit all these learning targets by the end of the year. Different assessments will assess if you've achieved mastery in these particular learning targets. All of our lessons are aligned with the different, all six different power standards. Like, I mean, not every lesson hits every six power standard, but I mean, over the course, thinking of big picture, the entire year. How I've created these learning targets and power standards is a mix of three things. I used the Common Core standards, I used the Next Gen standards, and I also used the course itself, college based standards. So, like, what is expected from having a college class for St. John. So, you'll see some of them are kind of like basic. I can plan, draft, revise, edit, but then you'll also have things that are really complex. Like I can read through the lens of a variety of critical theories to understand the author's influence in socio-political consciousness. So you're going to see that there is like a huge variety of different things that will be expected of you over the course of the year. But that's again, it all lives here in the syllabus. The important general links. This will always, be updated. Oh, speaking of updated, I forgot the main thing. Date updated. So this is really important. Actually, I'm going to update it for today as well. You go back to the syllabus and you look here to see when the date was last updated, and that'll tell you if there's been any change in the syllabus. This way, you can look to see if something, is new, is different, whatever. But so I'll always, you always want to look at that for date updated. Over here, important general links, and I'll continue to add to that as we need them. But this is where like the main things will live, like how do you get your DOE student accounts? You can get on Zoom, the different jobs and teams, St. John's portfolio, the class registration, so on and so forth, the film curriculum permission form, all of these things. Then the daily agenda. So like what's going on for the day. So, for example, like I said to you in Google Classroom, okay, we're taking care of lesson 1 and 2 for this particular cycle, the cycle of September 16, 17, 18. So over here, you'll click and that'll bring you to, that expectations like that we were just looking at. And you know that that's what the is asked of you this particular cycle. For this particular cycle, 1 and 2 happens to be the same lesson. I combined both because you have a lot of other little things you need to do in the meantime. So, like, you have to do the Flipgrid, you got to fill out your team, you got to do 16 personality tests, the student survey, the film curriculum permission slip, learn about the blogging. And I'm over here at date due. I'm working on this because living in a cycle world, I'm going to try to make sure that it actually makes sense for each cycle. But please know this, that if you are a cycle, if you are in cycle A, excuse me, if you are day A, then all the stuff would be due for you on a day A, whatever that means. Like, for this, for example, like you have a culminating project for fairy tales. I'm not going to give that to you like just one cycle because it's a paper. It takes a while, but it'll be due on your letter day. So whatever the cycle that applies to your letter. If you're A, it'll be to A. If it's B, it'll be to B. It'll be to B. So just that's where I'm working on. I'm working on that in the meantime. Over here, as you can see, like same thing. Like I'll tell you in Google Classroom which lessons I want you to look at for that cycle and the expectation. Okay, guys, the expectation is that you will go through these lessons before we meet in in class. Now, for those students who are alive that particular cycle, meaning I will see you physically in person, what we're going to do is spend like I'm just gonna guesstimate like about 30 minutes in class for you to actually go through this because my goal this year is to be mostly asynchronous. And that is because I really want to try and maintain equity for the students who are both in person and both fully remote and the students, obviously when you're in the blended phase. And the best way I can do that is to try to make as much of my material be asynchronous as possible. So, how our classes are going to work is you will use that live in person time to go through the lessons. Those of you who are remote in the afternoon that day, you will use the morning time to go through the lessons so that when we meet, we're going to use our face to face time, whether it's over Zoom or in person, for conferencing, for discussion, for conversation, for all things related to um, recitation. Okay, so I'm not going to give like the traditional lesson. All the lesson materials will be right there in the syllabus for you. You are going to be an independent learner, especially because this is a college class, and you're going to bring those questions. You're going to bring that discussion. You're going to bring those ideas to when we do meet in Zoom, when we do meet in person. So there is the expectation that you're going to be independent learners and go through these things on your own first. Okay. If, like I said, if you're live and in person that week, I'm going to give you like 30 minutes of our hour session, more or less. Well, it varies, obviously, cycle to cycle, to go through that stuff because that material will be like brand new to you at that moment to go through that stuff. And then we'll have our recitation. And always, 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 you're going to email me if you have any questions. All right, I'm going to head back over here. So now you've seen the syllabus, you see how that works, and I will continue to update the syllabus as new material comes through. FYI, the reason it's not fleshed out is because this is actually the first year that I'm teaching fairy tales. You're supposed to read the Cinderella story, for a summer reading. I know you did, right? So that's why it hasn't completely been fleshed out. And I'm also in the process of acclimating the lessons so that they will fit in a remote world. To just give you an idea of like how it normally is, this is last year's syllabus. So you'll see that there's been changes. Last year, so like I have normally the whole year is outlined. The whole year, day to day, is outlined. Yes, I'm that type A and organized, and I like for you to be too. Like I said, ours is not there right now because I am trying to make the lessons work in a digital world, in this way, asynchronous world, and I'm updating it as fast as I can while also being an instructional coach to teachers. So we're all doing the best we can, right, guys? Like this is the wild, wild west. Okay. So our in-class classroom procedures. Those of you who are going to be joining us live and in person, you guys could go ahead and read this. It's basically, self-explanatory. You are The biggest thing is like the bathroom, because I'm tell you the truth, I'm not really 100% sure how that's going to work now, because I know it's like supposed to be like literally one person in the bathroom in that entire bathroom. So I don't know how these things are going to work. So this is the way it's been. Um, and I just do ask that if you're going to eat and drink in class, especially in the universe we're living in right now, that you are super sanitary about it and you're cleaning up after yourself. And obviously, like things that are considered high allergens, like nuts, please, like you've always learned, please don't bring that into school. Okay, so some like video conferencing expectations. I had a little bit too much fun with making these Bitmojis, but here you are. The main things for me is to mute your mic when you come on, to keep your video on. I really this is like something that was really hard for me in the springtime as a teacher, talking to a bunch of blank screens. Now I recognize that there are times when you can't have your video on for whatever reason, but for the most part, please have your video on and facing your actual face. Like I know I've seen like it's facing the ceiling, or you get like the forehead monster, like all kinds of like weird things that go on. But the hardest part, one of the hardest parts of this whole world situation, is like the missing the human aspect. And if we're going to try to make this as close to regular, whatever that means anymore, regular school as possible, then we need to see each other's faces and body language and reactions and communicate that way. So please put your video on, be on time. And that's kind of it. That's also different in this world because it takes a little bit to log in to try to make sure that you're getting the right credentials. So even if our class starts at 12:32 remotely, let's say, you're probably gonna have to start trying to get on at 12:30, and like you're gonna have to let if you have a class beforehand, let the other teacher know. Listen, like I have another class to get to. So that like when we say we're starting at 12:32, that means we're starting at 12:32. Um, you know, Try to, like, if you can, sit in a quiet place. If you're in a remote air doing your remote session that day, the professional chat. So like this is really important. The I'm gonna ask for a student job to be like a chat mage, which I'll get into in a moment. But the chat, especially when I'm doing a presentation like this, like when I have the present button on, the chat feature, I can't see it. So if you're asking questions in the chat, I can't see it. I can't see it. I can't respond to you. So like it's important that you're able to like use your voice. It's also part of your habits of success, but also the chat should be stuff that's, if you do use the chat, stuff that's meaningful, that contributes, that's or asking clarifying questions. The chat shouldn't be anywhere else. It shouldn't be like for emoticons or reaction, like that's not the it's not the place for it. You use the chat for professional reasons. So that's a little bit more about like the Zoom classroom procedures. Just elaborate on that. One thing here. Whoops, sorry, I keep going back and forth. Is like the Zoom session lengths will vary depending on the needs of the class and the unit. Like I said, my goal is to really make this as asynchronous as possible, so that you don't have to be live with me all the time in order to make this happen. Because like I understand that things are complicated, so sometimes the Zoom sessions will be short. They'll be 15 minutes. Then that's it. Like check-ins, conferences, whatever the case is. Sometimes they'll be longer. It varies. It varies depending on the need of the unit, of the cycle, whatever. So it's not going to be like any set thing. Blah blah blah. There will be a check-in every single time that we have class together. So at least like 15 minutes, but how much further it goes along will really depend on the needs of the cycle and what we're working on at that time. So here, a little bit about you. I'm gonna ask you guys to actually like create a Flipgrid video, and you click on that link to add it there. And this is for me to get to know you, but this is also for you to get to know each other. This is public on the web, so please like have fun with this, but recognize that it's also public on the web. I'm asking you if you could go on a road trip with anyone, dead or alive. Who would it be? Where would you go? And why? Don't forget though to introduce yourself, your full name and the class period in the Flipgrid video. So like I'm Miss Fusaro. I teach all of the Gods, Monsters, and the Apocalypse classes. If I could go on a road trip with anyone dead or alive, I would probably pick Albert Einstein, and I would go cross country to California because I feel like that would give me plenty of time to have a conversation with him. I also would like to see all parts of the United States that I haven't seen, and I feel like Albert Einstein was not only incredibly intelligent when it came to science and physics, which I love, but also he loved literature, he loved fairy tales, he loved folklore. So I just feel like he would we would connect on such a soulful level. So that's what you do. That's what you do. Your Flipgrid video. Okay, so a little bit about the student management jobs. This is me asking you for help, essentially. This is me asking you for help. This is also a fantastic way for you to demonstrate your habits of success, especially if you're someone who really has a hard time like speaking up is in the digital environment, in a regular like class type environment, whatever the case is. The student survey you'll indicate, but these are the different jobs, and this is our way of keeping normalcy in class, making things fun, helping me out, and making you all part managers of the course. So each job, I'm asking for at least two people. I'm asking for at least two people. So the points master, you're going to keep track of team points, and you're going to do that via a Google Sheet, and the Google Sheet will only be accessible to you guys, the 2 points masters per class, and me. And I'll talk about what that means. And when I get to the teams, the blog wizards, you guys will also be helping me keep track of the blogs. You're going to keep track of the blog spreadsheet. You will post the dates when the blogs like are supposed to be um, due for that particular cycle, because it's easier for you to keep track of your class cycle, as opposed to me keeping track of like all three different cycles for three different sets of students, et cetera, et cetera. And you also like remind the students that they have a blog to do, like, so you're basically just like you're this is all management job, so you're helping manage it. The portfolio druid, assuming you guys read the portfolio saw the video, read the portfolio requirements already. The portfolio druid is going to be the person who helps keep track of the links to each student portfolio in the spreadsheet. So you're kind of just going to make sure that all those links are live and functional for me, so that when it does come to the checkpoints of the portfolios, I can just click through very quickly without worrying, oh, this is going to an editable link, this is not the actual published link, etc., etc. The technomancer, that I'm asking for anybody who can assist with like technological issues that may arise for both students and me, just people who are good with that stuff. The chat mage, again, two people who will keep track of the chat whenever we do have a remote session. This way, if there are questions that are happening that I didn't get to because I didn't see it, you're going to stop me and say, listen, Mr. Fusaro, this was in the chat, or like when there's like a natural pausing point, Mr. Fusaro, this was in the chat, you should address it. You're just going to help me as far as monitoring the chat, also like keeping it professional. If you have any questions about the student management jobs, of course, please let me know. Okay, so the teams, what this means, your teams are going to be your lifeline, like it says here. The class is going to be divided into teams, and the way it works is that there are 4 to 6 people on the teams in your class. Ideally, you're going to pick people of a blend between people who are live and in person and a blend of people who are remote. If it doesn't work that way, it doesn't work that way. I am 100% letting you choose who your teammates are, and we're going to stick to the same teams for this entire term. So there will be times that you guys are going to work on group projects together, and you are going to have like when you're doing chats and group work, and when you're having like group conversations, this is a team that you're going to be working with. Like I said, 4 to 6 people, and you're going to fill that information in on the student jobs and team sheet. You're going to give yourself team name, and the team name should be like aligned with more or less the unit that we're working on at that point. Now, what you get, so essentially the way I set up is like it's a survivor. So there's 6 teams per class, and you guys are competing against each other. So like for example, if when I was talking about the ghost and conch before, like most of the points that you earn are through discussions that we have, like either in person or discussions that we have remotely or whatever. I'm going to try to um, hopefully like points masters will be a mix of people who are live and in person, and and remote. We'll find a way to make it work. But so the points masters, how this works is you're going to keep track of each team and the points they earn. So like for example, if somebody says something really awesome in class, I might give them like 10 points, or like rarely 20 points, and like incredibly rarely, like diamond would be a plus 30. Very, but that's like incredibly rare. But you earn points this way, and teams with the most points at certain endpoints, like usually when we switch over to different units or checkpoints, you can earn different prizes for these things. Like whatever the prize is, we'll figure it out as we go along. But sometimes that's immunity, sometimes that's extension on deadlines, sometimes that's you don't have to do certain work, you don't have to get called on, whatever. We'll figure out what the different prizes are for the teams. But it's supposed to just, the whole thing is like you guys are competing against each other. You're competing against each other, and that's what makes it fun. And the points masters, that's why I always ask for two. They should be on two different teams. It functions as checks and balances to make sure that we're keeping track of the teams and being fair about it. And you have to, like, you have a cooperative pair of points masters who are going to work together to make sure that the information is accurate. Also in the team, like I said, it's ohana. Like ohana means family, and you are going to add your team. You click that link there, you add your team in there, you're going to put your full name, you'll see the chart when you click there. And you know let's be inclusive, make sure that everybody has a team. And I'm going to ask you to do that, make sure you have that completed before we get into our next cycle. Again, this just elaborates a little bit on the team name. Right now, like our first unit is going to be like fairy tales and Greek mythology. So if you want to make a team name that's associated with that, like remember the power of a name. This is your survivor identity. So you have fun with it. Have fun with it. Obviously, your team name should be appropriate, but have fun with it. All right, so like, what are we reading in the fall? What are we reading in the fall? We're starting with the different versions of Cinderella from the classic fairy tales. I gave you a second edition of Maria Tadar's book, The Classic Fairy Tales. That's in the syllabus. There's a folder with that information in there. So you're gonna read all of Cinderella, that entire chapter from the second edition. Okay, the second edition, which is in the syllabus. Then we're gonna move into selected stories from mythology by Edith Hamilton. This is Greek mythology. Then you guys are going to do a project on creation stories for world mythology. Then we're going to do Oedipus Rex, which is Greek tragedies by Sophocles. Then we move into Norse mythology by Neil Gaiman. We go into Beowulf, which is now we go into we start moving south into into Britain, and then we go to Grendel, which is a modern. It was written in the 70s, but like a modern version of the villain from Beowulf. And in the spring, we have some selections from the Bible, the Book of the Dead, Egyptian mythology. And even though technically Egyptian mythology was before the Greeks, before the Norse, but I know chronologically it's not perfect, but there's a reason behind that. Then we go into Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice, and we end with World War Z by Max Brooks. So there's also I have a few people come in to do guest speakers. I have a few people who like to come speak and do the like give different lessons. So we're just gonna like have like super courtesy for them and be inquisitive and ask them a lot of questions. Also, this is a project based course. As you saw, there's a portfolio, which means there are no tests in this class. No tests. No tests. No quizzes. I've completely thrown that out this year. This is new. No tests, no quizzes. It's just it's all going to be based on that portfolio. Um, and again, if you hadn't had a chance to watch the portfolio video, please do that. We're also going to watch a bunch of films in this class. It's not doesn't mean it's like, oh, this is free time, woohoo. No, the films are things that we actually write about and work with, so they have their educational benefits, but a lot of them are rated R, so you do have to get permission for them. So when you see here, there's a film permission form. It's a letter that you need to get signed by your parent or guardian, okay? And you're going to upload it in this Google form. Okay, so you're going to download a copy of the letter, and you're going to upload a signed copy of the permission slip in this form. Okay. And moving on to the second part. So, something else, like for me to get to know you a little bit, I'm going to ask you guys to take the 16 personalities test. After you take that, keep that tab open, and because you're going to use that to complete the Google form. This Google form is so important. So please do these things as soon as possible, because that Google form is how I structure the bloggers, how I get transmit all the information to you, how I help align with the points masters, how I figure out who the student managers are. So please, please, please do this. Of all the things, do this first. Please do this first. And like, so you see there, it's like the student survey, the 16 personalities test. So you'll see you take the test. I suggest you log in. Like you can use your SI Tech this way. You can go back to it if you ever need it. The intro to class blogging. So I actually did another video about class blogging, separate. This way you could watch that also. But there's the blog expectations. You can take a you go take a look here, and I also made, like I said, a video about the blog expectations. But I suggest you watch that video and read through this. Um, you know, during this cycle. This way, you have a better understanding of that. Again, I didn't want to put everything in this particular video because there's so many moving parts, and I wanted to spend more time actually talking to you about the class, about any questions that you have. So I do hope that you guys watched. Come to me with all of your questions when we do get to meet live in person and remotely and have our session together. Hopefully, this explains everything. If I don't get to address your questions, please just shoot me an email as always. And I'm looking so forward to speaking with you.